The Boys Season 5 is out in full on Amazon Prime. 8 episodes around an hour each. This is the ultra-violent superhero parody show, although sadly at this point it has become the exact thing it set out to parody, based on a comic book by Garth Ennis. The story finds most of the boys in a concentration camp from which they need to be broken out so that they can continue to work on the superhero virus from last season. Meanwhile, Homelander is consolidating his power and becoming increasingly insane, and when he experiences a vision of Madeline Stillwell as an angel, he becomes convinced he's destined to become a god. So, it pains me to say this, but The Boys has become a prime example of overstaying your welcome. It was an amazing show for its first 3 seasons. It had the perfect opportunity to conclude in a meaningful manner right there, right then. It decided to stretch things out for 2 more seasons, and the results are disastrous. The budget is visibly, and by the way, a lot of the stuff I will say will apply also to season 4, which I think suffered from a lot of the similar problems. The budget is visibly slashed from previous seasons. The show now feels small, cheap, and cramped. There are very few special effects and action scenes, and most of it takes place in few, mostly empty rooms. The writing is awful. The show never feels like it's actually nearing a final epic conclusion. There's no tension. It continues to meander aimlessly, much like it did in season 4. First, we spend time on the virus. That goes nowhere. Then we go to the V1. That kind of goes nowhere. And only to, in the second to last episode, we suddenly pivot to Kimiko becoming the solution, which comes completely out of nowhere and feels like an ass pull. The climax is functionally the same as the climax of season 3, but done worse, which again begs the question, why did we need to stretch it and not end then? Character arcs are mostly garbage. Homelander feels like a sort of carbon copy of Trump now, which I think is boring. He feels much more dumbed down from the early seasons. He's also much less threatening and much less complex. If you go back and watch one of the episodes of season 1, he could be terrifying. Right now, he's just cartoonish. Sister Sage is the worst intelligent character I've ever seen written. It's clearly a problem of stupid writers attempting to write an intelligent person and failing. It just doesn't work at all. Huey and Annie have this weird will they, won't they again at the beginning. Then they have zero chemistry for the rest of the season. Black Noir just sort of ends anticlimactically. Deep is actually pretty funny for most of the season. The stuff about him being a Manosphere podcaster is hilarious, but his ending also felt very underwhelming. Soldier Boy is completely wasted, and his character becomes assassinated because he spends most of the season despising Homelander, which is actually an interesting dynamic to have between them, only to do a complete 180 for no reason and also end on an anticlimax. Also, most of the stuff around him is very clearly set up for the upcoming prequel series, Vought Rising, which, first of all, who gives a shit? And secondly, you can't use the final season of your main show to set up a spin-off. That's not a good use of your time. While we talk about spin-offs, the characters from Gen V, the other spin-off, show up for about 3 minutes total, and some of us were hoping they would actually play a significant role in stopping Homelander, because that's what they were supposed to do. That's what their own show set them up to do. Nope, they literally do not do anything. They don't even use their powers even once in their short appearance. What was the point? The dialogue is absolutely abysmal because suddenly now every character is constantly cracking this elaborate, worldly crass jokes, which really get very tired very quickly. Kimiko's voice is grating as fuck, and suddenly she's all about sexual jokes and porn references, which also doesn't fit her character from before. The fact that the last episode opens with a funeral of one of the main characters and it's immediately devolved into a goodbye letter about literal physical assholes tells you everything you need to know. I'm sorry, but this just feels completely juvenile at this point in time. Karl Urban and Anthony Starr are trying their best to elevate the show with their admittedly still very good performances, but I think the writing fails them utterly. Chase Crawford is also still fantastic as Deep. Such a hateable character, such a pathetic little wimp. You really love to hate him. On the other hand, Erin Moriarty, I have to comment on this because it was so distracting. She's changed her face with the plastic surgery to a point where she is not only distracting to look at, but clearly has some difficulty speaking her lines. Like they sound muffled, as if she's either unable to fully open her mouth or her lips are blocking it. I don't know. In the last episode, there's a scene where she's talking to two of the younger actresses from Gen V, and the difference in how they emote is staggering. Really sad to see someone so pretty and talented, ruin their face in such a way. Anyway, this was a massive, massive disappointment overall. A series that started out with a bang ends with barely a whimper. It's such a shame to have two additional seasons made for cheap, only to ruin the legacy of the first three. This really could have been an all-time show, and I think it will be instead remembered as ultimately a failure, which is sad, really.